Today I'm going to be talking about both the prompts of Phyllis Wheatley and the effect that poetry has on the White House and politics as a whole. Um, Phyllis Wheatley, looking back on it, was honestly the fact that she was able to be successful is honestly surprising because of everything that was a setback for her and everything that she had to overcome just to be what she wanted to be. Um, it really is the fact that I now know more than I did before. She was awesome, and the fact that she was able to do what she did is pretty remarkable. Uh, I would. She really created her own life. Basically, out of nothing, she came to the U.S. from, or on a ship from from Africa, and was bought by a family in Boston and was enslaved in America. They named her Phyllis, which was the name of the ship that she came on, and then their last name, which was Wheatley. It was rumored that at a very young age she had grabbed a charcoal piece of rock and was starting to write with it. And so instantly the Wheatleys decided to put her into education. She started getting education that many poor white families or white children did not get at that time in America. And she, at the age of 13, not only did she know English, which was her secondary language, she was learning the literature of Greek and Latin. Um, so she was very successful at an early age already. But the Wheatleys didn't really do it just to benefit her. They did it so that way they can make money off of it and kind of show it off as, hey, look what we found. Not really, hey, look at this woman and look at what she's doing. We should really respect it. They were looking to make money off of it. And so she, over her years, ends up in London and is ends up writing for the ends up writing for the for the Hastings. She ends up writing for Selena Hastings, and um, she goes to London originally to treat her tuberculosis, but she goes and writes for Selena Hastings, and Hastings gives her the funding to for to publish her poetry. Um, and so she publishes it, and then she goes back to America, and basically a literary critic at Harvard basically told her like, "Oh, we don't believe this is you. Like this isn't your work. We just don't believe it." And so there was a meeting held to argue whether or not if it was her work or not. And so basically a little time later, they did end up proving that it was indeed her work. And I have the quote here. And to me, this is why I believe she was really a central figure in a movement um, to abolish slavery at that time. And this quote kind of speaks to that. The Harvard man said, "If she had indeed written her own poems, then this would demonstrate that Africans are human beings, and should be liberated from slavery." Meaning that if she can truly write like this and she can truly do these things, then why aren't all African American slaves free? If they all have this potential, if they're all human beings, which apparently wasn't a thought back then. Um, she not only created the picture for what a literacy for a black woman should look like, she was the outlier for American poetry in general. She led the movement for black women, or for she led the movements for black literature writers, for women writers, and for just American literature in general. So she was really a standpoint to follow, even still today. As far as why we don't learn it in school, I really think that the reason why, and I take this out of my own experience in high school, um, in English, you really don't learn about poetry all that much. You spend maybe a small bit of your semester, maybe 2-3 weeks on it, because everyone's like essays, essays, essays. Everyone wants you to learn essays, just for the STAR, state regulated testing. So, I feel like that has a big part into do why we don't learn poetry. I'm glad looking back now that I was able to learn about Phillis Wheatley and the greatness that she's accomplished and the respect that she truly, truly deserves, and being part of such an incredible movement and all the things that she did. The fact that she did what she did essentially out of nothing, and still has the guts and the heart to go back and say, I'm glad that I was bought in slavery, just so that way I was given the pedestal, the opportunity to do what I was doing. It just blows my mind that she was able to do that. So all in all, I had no idea how something so great ended up becoming what it did, but it really should be appreciated a lot more. And I know that the true professional literaries do appreciate her, so that's really great to know. For my second prompt, I chose to do the poetry in the White House, and moreover, poetry and politics as a whole. So as I was going through and I was looking at all the different administrations as they were separated, they all had importance to all of their meetings, all of their introductions, and all of the things that they would say before a meeting would begin, and all that. It really mattered, and it would be a direct meeting to the meeting. So I would say Trump and Clinton especially, they focused on relating what the meeting was about to their poem, or to their poetry that they selected, and how it would always connect back to American history. And so I feel like that is a really cool part of that. The main idea for all of the introductory poems was to address either the situation, what the meeting topic was about, or the poetic manner that could be agreed upon for all parties. I would say I especially appreciated the President Bush and his wife's approach to welcoming their guests to all of their events, especially the Harlem Renaissance. I felt like that was a really cool event to hold. Basically, just kind of taking a step back and really taking time to appreciate and go over all the African American people who have really led the way in American history, and even still today, to do and get to where we are today, and just kind of go over how much true American poetry came out of the Harlem Renaissance and how much it should be appreciated still today. Mentioning the movements of W.E.B. Du Bois, and all that he did, and the movement, and of course many others. Just the hard work and the sacrifices that had to do and get through just to beat the circumstances of creating what we can never forget today. Just, it still blows my mind, just despite a skin color, just means that they had to jump through all these different hoops and all these different obstacles just to publish and create what we appreciate today. But back then we would just shake our head at. As far as what I did and did not like, I'll start off with politics completely aside. I kind of felt as though the criticism that Trump got following using the snake in his rallies per se, I felt like it was kind of negative in the sense that, in my opinion, and I could be completely wrong, but in my opinion, I feel as though poetry can be interpreted in many different ways. I feel as though um, it could be directed into a lot of different situations, a lot of different manners. Um, so I think that how Trump wanted to use it, as far as to compare it to what he was trying to do, he was, I don't want to say right, but I feel as though he probably thought that he used it correctly. I And that's why I feel like I neither can say he was right or wrong, because I feel as though poetry can be perceived in many different ways by many different people. Overall, I think that he used it for the correct meaning. You use a poetry, you use a poem that basically you trust somebody, and then that trust is taken advantage of, and you're the one left to die. I mean, I feel as though it was used correctly. Politics completely aside. But that's just my personal opinion. I didn't like the criticism that he received from the family and the others, because in the end of the day, poetry is free. You can't pay for the poetry once it's published. I don't think so. On the other hand, I really liked the representation that Mr. and Mrs. Obama would represent following, or not following, but before their performance meetings. I thought it was really cool to take time aside like that in such a great place like the White House, to have all these amazing performers do what they do best and really appreciate what they do. I especially liked how I really liked how President Obama at the time would congratulate and appreciate and just really commemorate all the artists and what they would do before he would go on. I felt like it was really genuine. It wasn't fake by any means. I feel like they had a true seriousness and appreciation for poetry. I will say I did not know that poetry was that relevant or that important in politics or the White House. Definitely something I'll keep my eye out for in the future. And I did not know that the White House held meetings like that. So, yeah, definitely gonna keep my eye out for that. Overall, I would say I learned a lot as far as how poetry can pertain to politics and how it can pertain to how presidents use them, and how poetry can truly just be used as a common ground to understand a mutual topic. So, yeah, I would say overall that I learned a lot as far as poetry and its place in American history and how it's still appreciated today.